Our local weathermen can't predict the weather for this week with any degree of accuracy, let alone for the next 100 years. They're generally pretty good, and I don't complain about them. But when a chap tells me there's a 70 or 80 or 90% chance of rain, well, let's think about this one for a minute, shall we? If it rains, he was right. But if it doesn't rain, he was also right, wasn't he? Good Lord. I'm no climatologist, but despite years of public school indoctrination, even I can flip a coin and tell you there's a 50% chance it's going to rain tomorrow. There's a 50% chance it's going to rain tomorrow 365 days a year. When I hear the weatherman come on and say there's an X% chance of rain, I have to ask myself, I wonder how many of these people out there actually believe this fool. I wonder if that chump actually believes his own propaganda. Even if he says there's a 90% chance of rain and it doesn't rain, he's still 100% right, isn't he? It just fell into his 10% margin for error. The predictions of accelerated increased temperatures are wildly exaggerated. It's just pure hypothesis. And saying that the temperature may rise is not predicting the future. It's not science. It's guessing. May means maybe in this case. For anyone to say the temperature on planet Earth may rise or fall over the next 100 years is the equivalent of the weatherman saying there's a 50% chance of rain tomorrow. The UN says the average temperature of the world could rise by 6.3% by the end of this century. Now that's true. Now let me give you my prediction. The average temperature of the world could decrease by 6.3 degrees by the end of this century. Both of these statements are true, because the temperature of the world has increased and decreased by 6.3 degrees centigrade over the last 1500 years. Where's my PhD, damn it? Send it. I qualify. And I can see that global warming may be occurring, but the truth is, over time, global warming and global cooling have been occurring as a matter of natural cycle. In June of 1991, in the Philippines, Mount Pinatubo erupted. It was quite an explosion, and it went on for a couple of years. And during that process, Mount Pinatubo gave off more carbon dioxide than all of the activities of mankind throughout recorded history. Let me just clarify that. One eruption lasting 2 years put more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than all of the coal, oil, and wood-burning activities of mankind, from the beginning of time up until last night. All of the carbon dioxide that's ever been created by the hand of man pales into insignificance when we consider one volcanic eruption. And I'd like to take this opportunity to point out there's more than one volcano in the world. Is there not? Have you noticed that the proponents of this particularly preposterous policy never really mention the fact that plants, trees, and vegetation take in carbon dioxide, which they need for their survival, and the fact that they put out oxygen, which we need for our survival? And when plants are grown in controlled environments and exposed to extra carbon dioxide, guess what? They thrive and grow faster and stronger. So I say we all work for an increase in CO2, which will make the world's forests healthier and more robust, allowing them to support more wildlife. Seems like the way to go, doesn't it? And models of climate change don't take all of the potential variables into account, like the sun's influence, for instance. And if we've been told that sunspots cause global warming, they'd be more on point. Sunspots have been increasing over the last 10 to 15 years, and many scientists believe it's the sunspot activity that's causing global warming. And by examining the quantities of CO2 found in ice core samples, it's been shown that an increase in the Earth's temperature does coincide with an increase in carbon dioxide. But it's not CO2 causing an increase in temperature. It's the rising temperature that causes an increase in CO2 production, and it's several hundred years delayed. Did Al Gore put that in his book? And if he did, then I missed it. Now, according to the paid professional whores in the mainstream media, the ice caps are melting and shrinking. But that's not what the scientists are telling us. The scientists who are on site on the job, making day-to-day calculations, observations, and readings. The scientific literature says man-made global warming is BS. So someone is lying. And from my perspective, I can't tell you who's telling the truth and who isn't, but I'm highly suspicious. Especially when I see there's billions in carbon taxes coming our way. It does offer a clue who might be lying, though. Hell, for that much money, I'd lie. And, of course, there's the new term that's been coined to describe those of us who aren't buying any of this man-made global warming nonsense. Global warming deniers.
Dr. David Legates, who thinks more cautious forecasts have trouble making themselves heard. somehow the IPCC has become a global warming Bible, if you will. You can't disagree with this global warming statement. And if you do, you're some sort of skeptic. They question your motives, they attack you personally, and so forth. I have to speak out and say that the science we have is still incomplete. And the science we're being told by the IPCC is really incorrect science.
When the propaganda machine gets cranked up, if you deny it, you're a skeptic. Then they have to brand you with a label that makes you feel bad and has you ostracized. The objective here is to belittle you, to make fun of you. They're trying to show you that you're stupid, you're dumb, you're uninformed, and most of all, you're out of step with the majority, fella. Now, please send me an email and tell me when the majority was ever right about anything. Let me know, would you? I'm still hanging on with bated breath for the majority's correct opinion on World War I, or World War II, or for that matter, any historical event that's transpired. Now, in order for us to pass the legislation, to get you to pay $1 or £1 more for a gallon of petrol, we've got to scare the living hell out of you. We've got to get you so psyched up that you're willing to sign on and stand in line to pay your money. And here's how we do it. The tried, tested, and proven modality for achieving political ends. What I do, you see, is I demand a gigantic piece of your pie, knowing full well that I'm not going to get the whole thing. So I come to you and I say, give me half your pie. If you don't, I'm gonna hurt you a lot.
You're not going to get half my pie.
Oh, really? Well then get ready for the fight.
Well, okay, instead of the fight, maybe I'll give you a smell of my pie.
A smell, you cheeky. I'm gonna punch your bloody lights out.
Whew. All right. I'll give you a piece of my pie, but I'm not happy about it.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you very much. So you give me 1/8 of your pie and I walk off. And here's what the net result is. It's your pie. I don't have any claim on it. I'm not even entitled to look at your pie. But because of my threats and my blustering and my demands, I walk away with 1/8 of your pie, with your consent, and we used your knife to cut it. Works a charm. Every single time. We don't want to fight. We only fight when we actually have to. When the fight or flight response kicks in. Human beings don't naturally like confrontation. Well, at least 95% of us don't. 5% of us do. And that's because 5% of us are extroverts. And the extroverts are the movers and shakers in the world. So that 5% comes to the other 95%, the majority of us, and make demands upon us. When these demands are made, we don't want a fight or a confrontation. So when it comes to race, politics, religion, the subjects and topics that are so divisive, we'd rather go along to get along than have a fight that would settle the matter once and for all. I think it's time we all grew a pair and stood up to these muppets.